You're listening to Voces, Críticas, Critical Voices. I am your producer and host, Silvana Falcón. Since October 2018, KZSC and the Research Center for the Americas at UC Santa Cruz have been teaching journalism classes in Watsonville, California at the Digital Nest. These classes have been co-led and co-taught by myself in my capacity as the director of the Research Center, by Dr. Keith Rosendahl, KZSC advisor, and Juan Carlos Davila, a graduate student in the Latin American and Latino Studies Department. We also received support from Dafne Martinez, KZSC News Director. And I'm delighted to share with you one of the interviews from the class. But first, listen to a story about the project that was part of an online feature by UC Santa Cruz magazine. In this segment, you will hear myself in the beginning, followed by young people from the Digital Nest, and then Juan Carlos Davila. You can read the article in its entirety by going to www.magazine.ucsc.edu. We really feel very passionate about diversifying who has access to media. We rely on it to tell stories of our community, and if we don't have the people from the community telling those stories, then it just doesn't feel like a holistic portrait of a community.
I mean, I'm the direct link between audio journalism and the farm workers struggle or whatever. I mean, if you wonder why the least politically active are the least politically active, is because they got other concerns. And it's not politics, but they are the ones most affected, most heavily affected. Yeah, because everyone's got a voice. It's just we are, the amplifier, right? Because if I say things in a low voice, you might not hear it. But if I say things like this, then at least one other person's got to hear it. And if they hear it, and if they deem it important enough to share with whatever crowd, then yeah.
Our goal here at the Nest is to provide youth in rural Latino communities with access to technology and training that will give them a competitive edge to enter jobs that historically have not been available to them.
And remember, when we do journalism, it's about the person we're interviewing, it's not about us.
My priority is to create a comfortable space where the members feel confident in expressing their ideas, contributing to the class, letting us know what it is they want to learn, not what we think they should learn.
Again, that was a segment of a video that was done by UC Santa Cruz. If you would like to view the video in its entirety and read the article about the project, please go to www.magazine.ucsc.edu. The article appeared in March 2019. Thanks goes to Dan White and Nick Gonzalez for putting the story together for UC Santa Cruz magazine. And now I'm going to share with you a segment that was co-produced by 3 Watsonville High School students, Nance Rodriguez, Dafne Martinez, and Casey Martinez. These students were part of our classes there at the Digital Nest. This audio-video segment is called The Power of the Voice. It included an important interview with Jaqueline Mendoza, a local sexual assault survivor. The student producers wanted to interview Jaqueline Mendoza because Jan LaFontaine featured her story in an exhibit called Speaking Out. LaFontaine's work shared the stories of sexual assault survivors through the art of photography. This interview took place on May 9th, 2019, on the rooftop of the Digital Nest in Watsonville, California. Please note this interview covers a sensitive topic and may not be suitable for all listeners. Nance Rodriguez conducted the interview.
Why did you want to share your story with Jan LaFontaine?
So it began as more of to kind of start my healing journey in a more public way, because I felt like I wanted to help people, just like a lot of survivors do. They want to help other people, but they don't know how to start. And I felt like for me to at least reach people that aren't just my close friends or my family, like strangers and that kind of thing, because it's such a prevalent issue. I felt like I had to own up to it. And this was a way of me putting it all out on the table, like this is as public as I can make it right now. And that because I own it and because I'm leaving it out on people, you know, and they understand my issue and stuff, they could finally get over the, okay, this is what happened, now let's get to healing. That was really why.
Did it take you a long time to share your story?
So, I was sexually abused. It started at 4 years old, and then it ended, it's at 11, around 11 years old. The thing is that when I was a child, like I'm in elementary school, right? So I could tell my friends, but they couldn't help me, and I knew that. Like I knew if I told like my peers or something, they could help me in a sense of like me trying to make sense of it, but they couldn't help me like report it, or it wasn't an authority figure that I knew could end the abuse right then and there, and that it would, because I just wasn't ready, I guess, for that dramatic change. So it took me a while. I want to say when I was 15, when I was a junior, is when I wrote a paper on it, and I was an honors American literature, like, you know, all white people. I was like one of 3 mixed kids, and I never been in a class with them outside of like math or PE, so I didn't really know them. But it was a paper where I wrote about it metaphorically in a more artistic way that didn't say I was molested. It talked about like how I felt, you know, on my skin and all these things, and so it was heavy. But it was when I find like I couldn't write about anything else, and it was a way of me expressing something that I've been waiting to express for a long time. And like I told my mom, but it wasn't until I was like 15, I want to say that was when I could just say it out loud.
What did you think of Jan's work and how she conveyed your story through the photographs?
Oh, so Jan's work is amazing, of course, to put it in one word. But the difference with this project is that we focus on healing. And so we interview a person, and to get a text, like it's about this much of what happened, and then the rest and the bulk of it is about healing. It's about how the person healed, what they found, you know, what they love about their body. Like questions that you're not asked usually when you talk about a traumatic experience. Because usually, like I went through the court and that kind of thing, and it was so hard to get descriptive like that. But in this project, I was able to talk about, you know, like, oh, I had this coping mechanism, or I was writing and it really helped me express my thoughts in a clear and coherent way. Or it was, you know, my mom really helped me get through like the pain, and just like it was a more supportive and in a way that you articulate your healing so that you could express that to other people. Because what happens, or one of the questions we asked too, is like, how do you visualize your healing? And mine was meditation, because meditation helped me a lot. So my photo is me meditating. And I remember when I took the photo, she's like, stop posing. And I'm like, I know, I feel like I am. So I couldn't relax because it was like work and then school. And then, so I was like, okay. And I finally just relaxed, and they captured it. And one of the women in the first year, because I was in the second year, the first year she took my photo, and that's the one I chose, was hers. So then I got to do that for other women. And that's why because you build a sense of community. Like these aren't like the other participants, they're not like people I text all the time or that, you know, I hang out with, but I know they're there for me. And I know that we're there for a greater purpose, and this is to spread healing and awareness and light and that kind of thing. So it's really helped me in like a holistic way.
Do you feel awareness campaigns like Speaking Out campaign are important and empowering for survivors?
Oh yeah. I think it's vital for you to know that you're not alone. I think that's the first thing a lot of people realize, because it's in a college setting, so you're older. And it's funny because Jan's vision of it was to like build awareness around college rape or campus rape, but a lot of the women, or the majority, were, you know, like sexually abused or assaulted at a younger age or outside of college campuses. So it was unique in that way that you just never know what you're going to get. And then the women that we interviewed, they're in such different stages of their healing, because it's not linear, you know, like, and it's not the same for everyone. Like, I didn't have the same coping mechanisms other people had, and because other people, you know, you get into drugs, alcohol, and there's a stigma too about that, especially when women are raped, or majority of women that are raped, you know, when they're drunk or under the influence. It's like, oh, well, you knew it was coming, or something is like just completely wrong and perverted about that idea. So these women get to like own up to their bodies and empower themselves. And mine wasn't nude, but you can be nude, and we like cover you with scarves and stuff because Cabrillo, you know, we can't have it all out there. But like the reason why Jan incorporated the nudity was because you get to own up to your body and empower yourself through your body, because a lot of times, you know, you feel ashamed and you kind of close off. I was like that. I mean, I'm so, you know, I just cover myself. That's just who I am now. But I get to choose that. You know, it's not a product of my trauma anymore. And it's, you know, you building a sense of identity too, because you just get to express what you liked and then what helped you heal and how, like, where you are now. Like, I think that's what I liked about it. And this project and other projects like it is because you focus on not who you were when it happened, or still going, you could still be going through, you know, your healing and understanding it, but this is a step for you to take to say, this isn't okay. You know, you, in the interview, some women have a hard time saying they were raped, and we have to be like, you were raped. Like that is a huge step to admit, you know, for a lot of women. It's because they get this like media portrayal of it's the guy in the bushes, you know, or something, and it's very violent, and it's not, I don't want to say most of the time, but it's not always that time. Like, it could be very subtle. It's any time you don't consent, you know, and I think that's, and also, you know, asking for consent, not only the man or, you know, who you're with, your sexual partner, but yourself, like, hey, I don't like that, you know, and it's you just like taking responsibility of your body and other people too, like choosing your environment. You know, it just causes people to think about like consent. And then a lot of the women are parents, so they're teaching their little boy, their little girl, you know, saying no, and then, or the little boy about consent. So, and they're helping them heal too. So I think it's beautiful. It's really nice. Yeah.
Please note this interview covers a sensitive topic and may not be suitable for all listeners.
Can you speak about your own journey towards healing?
It just doesn't end. It doesn't end, because it's like you realize, like, I talked about generational trauma, because when you heal, you know, your mom heals, your aunts heal, your grandma heals, like centuries before you heal, because like my mom went through similar experiences, my aunts did too. In Mexico, it's a big culture of silence there, and here too. But, you know, it's like they didn't know how to address not only what happened to me, but my attitude about what happened to me. Like, this isn't okay. I don't want him around, because he was a family friend. He was my babysitter's husband. So he was around a lot, and me and my mom were trying to, like, keep it under wraps, because, you know, you're always afraid, like, your dad or your brother are gonna, like, lash out, go to jail because they lashed out, you know, and it's just gonna be this, like, vicious cycle. And as a survivor, you feel like it's your fault and it's shameful. And not only that, but if you were to tell people and they lash out, that's also your fault. You know, it's just a lot of burdens you put on yourself. So it's learning that rapists exist because they rape, not because of what you wear, not because of anything that you do. Like, you could, you know, and you open up the conversation. Like, I think that's what's the most healing about it, is because, like, just yesterday, my mom talked about how she, you know, would like hide and stuff too, because she felt like her body was like tempting and whatever. And she remembered when I did that. At the time, they didn't know like what happened yet, but I did like show signs, of course, You can't hide it. And I'm a child, you know? So I think when you're going through your healing journey, you're never alone in it. Like, you're affecting your community whether you know it or not. Because my grandma also had they were friends, you know, the guy who did it and stuff. So she had to realize that you could be a cool person and still molest somebody, and you know what I mean? Like, just cut ties, because it's just not healthy. And because she didn't know how to deal with my mom's abuse, she just kind of like, oh, that didn't happen, you know, put it in the back. And that's a coping mechanism, I guess, but it doesn't help, and it doesn't heal or advocate, you know, the issue. And because it's not just you, you know, and you're not alone in it. So the moment that you begin to heal and build self-awareness and talk to other people, like, they're all of a sudden reflecting like, oh, because they're bound to know someone. Like, it's so common. Like, you're bound to know someone. You know, if it's not you, like, then, because in, like, the presentations we have, there was a girl, you know, it's like, oh, my friend, you know, went through the same thing, and I don't know what to do. Like, she was being very authentic too, and it was here in Watsonville campus, across the street. And she said that, like, we were just telling her, like, just believe her, you know, and because it's called speaking out because it's quiet and we choose not to talk about it, and just talking about it helps us, like, build ways of preventing this from happening, or at least helping those that, you know, are going through it, you know, find their way of healing.
Please note this interview covers a sensitive topic and may not be suitable for all listeners.
My last question is, what message would you like to share with other sexual assault survivors?
There's a lot. We asked that in the interview too. I would say, I'm going to quote other women because they just say a lot of good things too. But, you know, you may think that, you know, first of all, it's not your fault. Nothing that you do nothing that you do means you deserve it. You do not deserve it. No matter who you are, what you've done, where you come from, any of that. Like, you do not deserve to feel that kind of pain. And given that it happened, it doesn't mean your life is over. It just means that you've gone through something that you can survive, you know, and not only that, but spread light and awareness about it, because it did happen for a reason. Like, even for me, like, I feel like I cherish my body more because of what happened. You know, it's like, in middle school, I built an attitude like my body is a temple, you know, because it's been, like, I felt tainted for a long time, you know, innocence, like, I was robbed of my innocence and that kind of notions, because virginity and women, blah, blah, you know, it's like so engraved in it, but it doesn't mean that you're tainted. Like, you're not at all. Far from it. You know, you went through an experience that only you can change your attitude about it and your outlook on it and what you choose to do after that, you know, whether it be like spreading awareness, healing, or the opposite, you know, like, you're going through coping mechanisms, and that's totally fine, that's natural. But just know that you don't have to do anything by yourself. That there are people like me, any strangers, you know, that are willing, like, more than willing to help you in whatever way it is. And that your healing is not going to be, like, linear, you know, and it's not going to, you will transform, but not know it, you know, until you're, like, reflecting, you're like, well, I changed a lot, you know, like, kind of thing. But it's because you don't see yourself that way yet, but you will. You will.
Thank you for spending some time with us, Jaqueline.
Thank you. Thanks, Nancy.
Thanks again to Nancy, Dafne, and Casey of Watsonville High School for co-producing this important segment and conducting this powerful interview. I also want to thank Jane Tobias for her technical and teaching support so that we could air this segment today. And of course, I must acknowledge and thank Jaqueline Mendoza for sharing her powerful story, for taking the time to come to Watsonville and talk to the students so that they could do their final project. Her story is a powerful one, and we feel honored to have had some time with her to be able to share the story with you. And lastly, I would like to acknowledge and thank the funding support we received to do this project. Thanks goes to the Community Foundation of Santa Cruz County and UC Santa Cruz's Chancellor's Graduate Student Internship Program. Thanks so much for listening.